Hi, my name is Quinlan Conley, and today I'm having the pleasure of doing this video on Safa, Ryhad. Safa, thank you for taking the time to do this video.
Thank you for asking.
Now, to start off, I would like you to introduce yourself, your where and when you were born, and the date,
Okay.
and about your life, and you're going to be challenged to do it under 4 minutes, and I'll ask some follow-up questions.
In under 4 minutes.
Yes.
So, my name is Safa Ryhad. I was born on September 30th, 1987. Born to Lydia Sakara and Ahmed Ryhad. I was born in Baghdad, Iraq. Let's see, I moved in 1991. We moved to the country right next door named Jordan. We lived there from 91 to 96. When I was 8.5, we had applied for and received refugee status with the United Nations. And then in 1996, we ended up interviewing with Australia, Brazil, and the United States. My parents ended up picking the United States and moved to, we stayed in New York for 3 days and then moved to Salt Lake City, Utah in March of 1996. I lived there. I went to high school. I went to elementary school, high school in Salt Lake City, Utah. In 2002, I became a citizen of the United States as a minor. So basically, my mom and dad became a citizen, and so did I. And then, let's see, I went to Salt Lake Community College, got an associate's degree in general studies there. I went to the University of Utah after that. I earned a bachelor's degree in Middle East Studies with an emphasis in Arabic and a minor in sociology. A year after that, in 2014, I went to law school at the University of Idaho and then moved to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho in 2017.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I have to ask you for this is what are the biggest cultural differences between the USA and Iraq?
All right, so the biggest cultural difference I would say is the one I find the most interesting is generational living. A lot of times I actually will be in court. I do a lot of family law, and one side or the other argues, oh, his mom lives with him, or his parents live with him, or they've got a cousin or a thing, and they portray it as a negative thing. But really, that generational living is very interesting, where you've got grandma, kid, and grandkids, in certain situation, even great grandkids or great grandparents or aunts and uncles all living in close proximity or in the same home, obviously with enough rooms and things like that.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest differences that I see here. It's a, hey, get out at 18 type of mentality in the U.S., whereas you'll see in Iraq and a lot of that Middle Eastern culture is you'll see, brothers and sisters getting married and all living together and all raising their kids together and combining their financial resources, really moving all of them ahead further because they're working together.
Oh, yes. And one of the things that I'd like to know is what ethnicity is your family and religion? What?
Okay, so religious-wise, we're Catholic. I'm born and raised Catholic. So from my mom's side of the family, my grandfather was born in Bombay, India. His mom was Indian, but his father was from Sakara, Portugal. So he's Portuguese Catholic. And then from my grandma, my maternal grandmother, she's actually Chaldean. So if you ever saw the movie The Passion of the Christ, they said they spoke Aramaic in that, but really Aramaic is a dead language. Chaldean comes from Aramaic, and that's what they actually spoke is Chaldean. So I've got cousins and that all speak Chaldean fluently. Unfortunately, I wasn't raised in Michigan, so I don't get to do that.
Yeah. And what about your dad's side?
My dad's side is as Iraqi as they get. They're a little bit of a mix. There's Muslims and Catholics, both in there.
Yes, and what were the biggest, I know you were 8 years old and probably don't remember this as well, but what were the biggest struggles in terms of communication and adjusting from the culture of the Middle East to us?
So I have a memory from when we traveled quite a bit, right? Because we had to go from Jordan to Europe to New York, and we finally got into New York. And I remember waiting for us to get picked up. We had our bags, and I'm sitting on my bag, just overwhelmed. Never seen so many people. You can imagine New York in 1996. Still a lot of people there, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
By 2040, they're expected to reach 9 million.
Yeah, which is absolutely crazy. And it's a giant international airport, right? And just feeling overwhelmed. One of the struggles that I had is I actually refused to learn English.
Yeah.
And because I just didn't want to, and being an eight and a half year old, sometimes things like that happen. So I refused to learn English, but over time, what's funny is I know I didn't speak English, but I don't truly remember not being able to speak English.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I dream in both Arabic and English now.
Wow, and
Yeah.
what about going to school? What's the biggest difference?
Well, growing up in Salt Lake City, Utah, when I first went to school, I went to a little Catholic school called Kern St. Anne's. They ended up putting me a grade above because math in the U.S. is not fantastic. And I was doing 6th grade math in 2nd grade.
In Iraq?
In Jordan, because remember, I left Iraq when I was 3, and then from 3 to 8.5, I lived in Jordan.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, but there was, when I moved there, there was, now there's ESL, English as a second language, and that's all over the place, especially with the influx of refugee and immigration, especially into areas like Salt Lake. But when I went there, that wasn't a thing. So I went to 3rd grade for 2.5 months. I spent a summer watching Barney and The Simpsons, and I went back into 4th grade as a normal student. What's interesting is I was never taught how to print. So in my school in 4th grade, you learned how to write in cursive, and so I only write in cursive. I don't print.
Still?
Still.
And what's the education system like in Jordan or the Middle East compared to here?
Significantly more strict. So I can, the boomer generation, I have a lot of comparisons with, because that's when corporal punishment was still allowed in the United States. In the Middle East, it absolutely still is a thing. I remember when I was in 1st grade, a bunch of 6th graders got into a fight, and then the principal lined them up in front of all of us at an assembly, and she was hitting all their hands with a ruler.
Oh.
Yeah, and so, and I also went to a Catholic elementary school in Jordan, so it was a nun hitting a bunch of students on their hands with rulers, and so I would say significantly more strict. Whether it's better or worse, who knows? Time can only tell.
Okay, and uniforms probably.
I definitely had uniforms at the school. I wore a uniform almost through my entire education, whether if it was in the U.S. or the Middle East.
Awesome. And what about, do you guys have any traditions specific to the culture in Iraq?
Yeah, music, dancing, food. That entire, the Mediterranean area shares a lot of the same foods. So whether you say, hey, when I say the word baklava, right? Baklava can be Greek, baklava can be Hebrew, baklava can be coming from Saudi Arabia, baklava can be coming from Iraq, all with little, or Lebanon, all with little different tastes and styles, but really being the core of the core. My favorite is called banya, which is lamb, okra, in like a tomato stew over rice. Absolutely my favorite food, culturally speaking.
And what kind of foods do they mostly eat in Iraq? Falafel, stuff like that? What do
Yeah,
they
falafel,
usually eat?
hummus, baba ganoush, Lebanese. Just think Mediterranean diet, and that's what you get. So you got to remember, Iraq is between the Tigris and Euphrates, right? That's where Baghdad is.
Yeah.
And so that's the cradle of civilization. So my mom would tell me stories about just going down to the river, going to a restaurant where they're catching the fish, grilling it, cleaning it, grilling it, and serving it to you all just right there.
Yeah, did your mom ever see the marshlands of Iraq? Those
No,
famous.
but I will tell you this: in 1995, I swam in the Dead Sea in Jordan.
That's considered healthy for you.
It is considered healthy for you, and it's super interesting because you just float. You don't sink.
Yeah, and what do you value most and why in Iraq?
What do I? So, you know, that area of the world has some of the longest history. You know, as we look at history and what is recorded history, we are starting to learn that potentially Homo sapien is significantly older than what we know of. But when you go back to the Assyrians or the Sumerians, or right, that entire area is just an influx of people. It's an influx of learning, society, and the wars that have been going there for, let's see, we're 2,000 years, right? And then we know about an additional 6,000 years. So we were talking about 8,000 years of people fighting over the same piece of land. It's sad, but
It's
at the
very
same time, it brings history and it brings different cultures all into a melting pot.
Oh yes, and have you heard of the ancient city of that you are?
I have heard of it.
Has your mom been or you been?
I have no. I wish. My son's gonna graduate high school in 6 years. So my favorite thing to do on this planet is ski. For being an Iraqi, I really don't actually like hot weather. I prefer cold weather.
Yeah.
But what my intent is, because his mom will never let me do it when he's a minor, but when he turns 18 for his high school graduation, we're actually going to go ski northern Iraq.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Is your mom going to go?
I bet she'll want to go, but she's not going to go on the skiing part.
Well, quite frankly, neither would I.
That's fair enough, but I'm pretty excited for the experience.
Yeah, you should also show them Baghdad. I don't know.
It just kind of depends. The north is significantly safer right now.
Oh, it is?
It is. That's what I understand, anyways. It's coming a long way, but it's still not the safest place. Just like most second world countries or even third world countries, there's safe parts and there are unsafe parts. Well, it's the same thing. First world countries, there are safe
Same
parts
thing.
in the United States, but there are areas I wouldn't want to be walking alone at night still.
Have you experienced any cultural misunderstandings or negative experiences because of where you're from?
Honestly, not really. So 9/11 happened when I was...
Almost 14.
Yeah, almost 14, right? Good math. Way better than me.
Yeah.
When I was almost 14 years old, right? What's crazy is on the day 9/11 happened, my mom and I were driving to school. We got in a car accident. So I ended up being late to school, and I got there, and started figuring out what was all happening. And I'm walking down the hallway, and these two seniors walked up to me, grabbed me, and they said, "If anyone gives you a hard time, you tell us." So that's really been the experience that I've had. Even, you live in North Idaho and you're like, "Oh, do you have problems up here?" No, not really. Most people, if you can have a conversation with them, if you can educate and help them understand who you are as a person, those negative thoughts, those negative actions, I haven't experienced them. But I'm also 6'4" and 220 pounds, so really talking smack to me is not the best idea.
No.
Because I look kind of scary.
Yeah, sounds about right. So you fled Iraq when you were 3. Have you been back since you were 3?
No, I have not. My Arabic is a little interesting, and I haven't had the opportunity just yet. And I'm basically more or less, I'm just waiting for my son to turn 18 so I can take him with me.
Oh, yes. And if Baghdad gets safer, you have got to show him.
Oh, absolutely.
And if it's safe and, 6 years, everything can and will change.
Anything can happen. That is the truth.
Can and will happen.
Absolutely.
I think, if it's safe, you guys should do like a big...
I'm going to be gone for a month. I can't wait. That's
exactly.
That is the idea.
You need to do like a big thing around Iraq. Like you guys need to
Absolutely.
You guys need to go to the marshlands, Iraq, or Baghdad, or Uruk, maybe Babylon.
Yeah, I mean, I think Babylon's technically Baghdad. Technically, area-wise.
It's technically Baghdad?
I think so. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. So, my degree is in Middle East Studies. I've had to... Hold on. I'm going to look this up really quick.
Okay.
Because... Let's see. Yeah, so 52 miles southwest of Baghdad is where Babylon was located. Its ruins are situated near the town of Hilla, which is 52 miles southwest of Baghdad.
And your son is now 12 or 13?
And he will be 13 on May 3rd.
May 3rd.
Help me, please.
Okay, I might have to sneak into Iraq with you because it's a very historical place. We might have to come along.
Let's go.
Let's go, dude.
Shukran. It's a deal. It's a deal, buddy.
Yeah, and what's the currency in Iraq called?
Ooh, dinar. D-I-N-A-R.
And does it still have a photo of Saddam Hussein on it?
No, not anymore. I don't know what the current dinar looks like. Actually, you know what? I am going to try to go make it to my safety deposit box because a couple of years ago I bought into buy 500,000 dinars. Let's see where it goes. and so let me see if I have time tomorrow. I'll go to my safety deposit box and I'll grab you a dinar.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Safa.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And before we end this, is there anything else that you would like to tell us that is special about your culture?
The reality that everybody expresses love through food. If you go to a Middle Eastern home, if you try to say no to the food, you're going to be in trouble. So just be quiet, eat, be happy, be merry.
And you're going to regret it because it smells so good and you're going to wish you weren't having it.
It's all the spices and deliciousness. Absolutely.
Well, Safa, I just gotta tell you, man, thank you so much for your
Anytime,
time.
Quinn.
And this
Good to
is
see you.
good, and this is ending up on my YouTube channel, just so
Let's
you
go.
know. And this, I'm probably gonna get some good content out of this.
Let's go.
Thank you so much. Shakram.
Off one. That was good.
Subscribe, fans.